Hey y'all, so I'm back to show you how to apply acrylic to an almond nail. So here we're going to talk about our zones. There's our zone 1, and then we have our zone 2, and then we have our third zone, which is a cuticle area. Now keep in mind that this is just a guide. You can use however many zones you want, however you need to do to form that nail the way you need to. You can start below, you can start anywhere. You just got to make sure that it's consistent. The beads are flowing into one another consistently. That's the only thing. You can use small beads, big beads, whatever you want to do. So that's just a note to let you know that this is just a guide. So we are going to take our medium-sized bead. So we're going to take a medium-sized bead. I'm going to turn my brush to the side and lay that onto the nail. Again, you can do it however you want. However, this is the way that I do it. So we're going to make sure that we pat in place. We're going to spread that acrylic from one side to another. And once we do that, and once we make sure that we tuck in our sides, make sure we make that top part nice and flush, we are going to start our pat and drag method down the nail. So we are going to take it, we're going to put a little pressure down to drag that acrylic down the nail, and we're going to be sure to bring our sides in. And if you got just the right bead, you don't have to really cut anything off. So once you reach the end, you're just going to make sure you pat everything into place in that almond shape. You're going to flip your brush around and you're just going to, form the nail up, make sure it's nice and smooth and good. You want to make sure you wipe those sides and everything like that. Pat those sides in. We got to make sure that we keep our shape. We didn't do all that work shaping that nail tip to mess up the shape when the acrylic goes on. Once you apply acrylic to a nail tip, it does make it wider and of course thicker. So you want to make sure that you have a really nice smooth foundation. So here we have built up our nail tip, which is amazing. These nail tips have a little curve to it, so that's why you see that curve. But if you want it not to curve so much, that's going to be taken care of with your nail file. So don't worry about that. Just make sure those sides are tucked in and make sure it's nice and smooth. Now we're going to go in with our second bead, which is our apex bead. That's going to help build our apex and make it a nice structure. We want to make sure that that nail that's the strength area. So we want to make sure that we build it up really nice and high. Well, not too high, but high enough where it has a really nice curved apex. So we're going to lay that bead down, set it down for a minute, and then we're going to pat it into place, make sure we bring those sides. We're going to keep that acrylic in the middle of the nail. With almond nails, you want that like structured, like hump in the middle, I guess you want to say. I don't know how to explain it, but what you want to do is you want to go ahead and swipe that down. You do not want to do a pat and drag method with this because we want to keep it in that area. Make sure you clear off your side walls. Make sure no acrylic is on those sides. Take your brush, make sure it's nice and flat so that way you can go right in there and fix it. So there we go. We made sure it was nice and flat. We're going to go right on in there and take that acrylic off that skin. If we do not do that, it's going to lift. We don't want it to lift. It's not going to stick to the nail. So here you see we got a nice apex, or a start of the apex right in the middle of the nail. We went and laid that bead down and we swiped it through. So that's a really good start to an apex. Now our cuticle bead is going to be, our third bead is going to be our cuticle bead. And we're going to make sure we lay that bead right below the cuticle area. That's going to help finish building our apex and making a nice smooth transition. So we're going to take a nice bead. We're going to do like a small medium type of bead. And we want this a little bit more runnier because we're going to swipe this one as well. But we want to have time to be able to really fit it around that cuticle and be able to tuck it really, really nice. So you want to make sure that when you pick up your bead and lay it down, it's not right onto the cuticle, it's right below it. So that way you can be able to push that acrylic right up to that cuticle area without touching the skin. Because again, that causes lifting. That's a struggle area for a lot of beginner nail technicians, so you really want to be careful with that. So here you see we're going to lay that bead right at that cuticle area. We're taking our brush and we're pushing it up there, making sure it doesn't touch, and then we're taking our brush and we're going to pat it into place and we're going to swipe the sides in. The reason why I swipe from one side to the other than the middle, because we don't want it to start, we don't want to push that acrylic out on the sides. So be sure to swipe towards the middle of the nail to be sure to build that apex and be sure to build that really nice slim look for an almond shape. You don't want it to look like a square almond. That makes sense. Or you don't want to make it too wide on the sides where you have to do a lot of filing. So then you're going to go ahead and swipe that into place. We're not patting and dragging, we're swiping it into place. And of course, we're always going to clear off our cuticle area. I gotta say, when I do nails, I always clean off my cuticle area. Even if I didn't touch it, I still go around it just to make sure, because acrylic self levels, and if it's still kind of wet and it hasn't polymerized, it will kind of seep into that cuticle area without you knowing. So be sure you make sure you wipe that off while it's still movable. And there we go. We have a really good structured nail. Now, when you look at it on the side, you see that there's a dip, right? Now, I could go and take care of that dip and add another bead there. Perfectly fine. That's what you want to do. Build it up, make it a little thicker. But I don't really like my almonds to be thick. I like it to be kind of thin on the tip, high at the apex area, and flush at the cuticle area. So I would literally take my file, and then I would just make sure I file it just like that. So I usually take that part and file it. I don't want to fill it in because, like I said, I like my almonds to be a little slim, give it that really nice natural look. Our nails are not thick at the tip or anything like that. It's a really nice smooth transition. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would do with that. But again, it's definitely your choice if you want to add another bead there and then contour it the way that you need to. But other than that, that is a really, really good structured nail. That is how you do it. You want to make sure you keep the bulk of your acrylic in the middle of that nail. That is the most important part when you're doing a stiletto or almond, is keeping the bulk of the acrylic in the middle of the nail. Because when you look down the barrel of that nail, you want that height. You want it to be thin on the sides and built up in the middle of that nail. So I really hope that helped. Practice makes perfect, y'all.